Virginia International Raceway, nestled in the hills of Southern Virginia. This racetrack is a 3.27-mile, 17-turn roller coaster. And today, after starting the season in the tight confines of the streets of St. Petersburg and then the twists and turns of Sonoma Raceway, plays host to the fifth and sixth rounds of the GT America powered by AWS Championship. Hello everyone, welcome to VIR. Beautiful weather and a beautiful venue hosting rounds 5 and 6 of the season. My name is Ryan Marine. Calvin Fish is alongside. We'll hear from Amanda Busick down in the pit lane shortly as this field, it's a mixed grid of GT3, GT4, and GT2 machines out on pace laps, Calvin. About to get ready to go, the GT3, or SRO3 as it's known in this series class. It's been a battle between two drivers to this point in the championship, but GT4 has been wide open.
It really has. Jason Daskalos has the lead in the championship by a mere 2 points over George Kurtz, who sits on the pole for today's race at this awesome racetrack. And in GT4, well, we haven't had a repeat winner yet this season, so no one's fully hit their stride. But what a gem of a racetrack this is. There you see it, split into 3 sectors, just over 3¼ miles in length. It is absolutely old school in every sense of the word. Great to be back on site. It's a beautiful day. I mean, extreme temperatures all week, Ryan, and we woke up this morning, breath of fresh air. We're looking about mid-80s here today.
Perfect conditions for our pit reporter, Amanda Busick. How are you, Amanda?
Well, guys, I'm kind of confused right now. I'm watching Jason Harwood come back into pit lane. That is not going to be good for the guy that's coming off of his first win in GT America in Sonoma. I did talk with the team prior. They decided to change the tires on pit lane, and that is not allowed. So Jason was already going to start from the back of the pack. But you guys did mention George Kurtz. We looked over the last day of practices. Not surprising to see George at the top of this pack. I was able to talk to him just slightly quickly before this race and asked him what he loved about VIR, and he just, with this sly little sound, said, simply, Amanda, I love this place. But you have to think of the gift that Jason Daskalos may have just got here. He was supposed to start in the 4th position. Now gets to have less Jason there, but CJ Moses returns in the lone GT2, and you have Mosey Uretsky, his first pole in GT America, kicking off that GT4 class.
Yeah, plenty of storylines throughout the grid. That's tough luck for Jason Harwood, Cal, who was slated to start on the outside of the front row. He had an incident, though, going back to qualifying this morning, but that was in the GT World Challenge America car. I believe he's got 2 different chassis between the 2 series, but something to keep an eye on. As we look at the starting grid, George Kurtz on the pole. It was supposed to be Jason Harwood alongside. Row 2 sees Jeff Burton and Jason Daskalos, already a multi-time winner this season. How about in row 3, Andy Pilgrim making his series debut with a brand new team. More on that to come. Justin Wetherill and Mirko Schultes rounding out the SRO3 field. Already back into the GT4 field where Mosey Uretsky has his first career pole in the series, starting alongside Adam Adelson, Chris Gumprecht, and Ross Schwest in row 2. Jason Bell and Elias Sabo roll 3 for GT4. Then it's Gray Newell and Rob Holland, Marco Radicic and Chris Allegro. Jose De Silva and Matt Ibrahim making his series debut in a Ginetta will start further back. Then you get to Jay Logan and Nick Shanny, Paul Keebler, Rick Euler, rounding up the starting lineup of those on the track. 2 cars will start from the pit lane. One is Chris CAGNAZZI, the other the lone GT2 car of CJ Moses, both for incidents back at the season opener in St. Pete. Here we go, 2 distinct starts for the 2 different classes. GT3 or SRO3 and GT4. George Kurtz all by himself on row 1, and he accelerates away in the VP acceleration zone. Put in a great final lap of qualifying to snag the pole, and the race now on for second. Jeff Burton heading off Jason Daskalos into 1.
He does, and that bright red Ferrari there, that is Andy Pilgrim. Great to see him in this championship. He's been a former World Challenge Championship winner back in 2005.
Now Uretsky in the yellow Supra jetting away from the pole in GT4. Adam Adelson, though, hanging in tough alongside. It's a little bit mixed up further back, 3 and 4 wide. A bit of contact mid-pack. That's championship leader Jason Bell right in the middle of it.
Yeah, and I think he's a bit frustrated. He's very confident after practice yesterday that he could indeed win this race and maybe sit on the pole. But this morning, the qualifying session didn't go his way. He now sits in the top 5 with a lot of work to do.
Oh, that's Ibrahim going off track in the Jannetta from the Dexter Racing stable. He's making a step up to GT4 alongside his touring car commitments here this weekend. Back to the overall battle for the lead. With just over 1 minute gone by, George Kurtz into Oak Tree for the first time with his mirrors full of Jeff Burton.
Yeah, Jeff Burton up on the wheel as he always is. Really rolled a lot of speed there through Oak Tree. Now it's kind of a dyno run down Madison Avenue here, the backstretch. So you get ready for that braking zone and set up for the roller coaster.
40-minute single driver pure sprint race in GT America powered by AWS. How about Pilgrim sweeping around the outside down Madison Avenue, getting past Jason Daskelos. He's up into third overall.
Yeah, that Ferrari was very impressive this morning. He actually had the fastest second and third sector time. Couldn't put together the first sector, so I think he may be a little bit out of position on the grid, making early progress.
A native of England, now residing in Bowling Green, Kentucky. So much history driving with General Motors over the years in multiple championships. This is Nick Shaney, his car with some issues. We saw them in the pit lane during Amanda's update earlier, and whatever the issue was, it was not resolved in time, and Nick unable to take the start.
Mirko Schulteis now up on the wheel, starting to put some moves on Daskelos as well. So our championship leader falling back through the pack here a little bit.
That car had some issues earlier in the weekend. Had to make some repairs to that car. Speaking of Daskelos in the Audi. And right now dropping back a little bit, but still very early on, coming under pressure, as you mentioned. Schultes, that's in the Callaway Corvette, who's been quick. Hasn't been all that strong in qualifying, but had a pair of fourth-place finishes at Sonoma that are his best results so far through 4 races this season.
Typically what we've seen, and we can even go back to the opening rounds at St. Pete, he gets quicker as the race goes on, so I think the car is easy on the tires, and as he starts to gain confidence, then the lap times come his way.
It's a 7-car SRO 3 field, SRO 3 being a mix of modern-day GT3 cars and some older ones. We talked about Andy Pilgrim. He's in the old Ferrari 458 GT3. That's going back a couple generations if you include the Evos on the 488, but this is a home for those cars. Jason Harward, who's in the back of the SRO3 field, mixed up with the GT4 cars after that miscue that cost him at the start that Amanda chronicled.
You saw Gray Newell there getting up on the curb a little bit, getting a little bit loose in that heart of racing Aston Martin. So Jason's just got to be patient here, but it's a relatively short race, 40-minute sprint race here this afternoon for the action. So he's got to cut through this GT4 field, then try and gain his sights on the tail end of that GT3 field.
Up to the front of the field, and it is Uretsky there, coming under some pressure from Ross Schwest. That is for first and second, the lead in GT4. So Schwest has been on a nice roll here to get started. He got around Adelson, who started on the outside of the front row, and those three now run nose to tail coming through Hogpen.
Yeah, Schwest from fourth on the grid up to second, starting to put the pressure on our leader here. Things starting to settle in. See Gumprecht there, drop back to the fourth position. And now he's coming under attack. Look in the backdrop there. Jason Bell trying to make a long run down the outside, gives it up. Double apexer here through turn 1. Jason cuts down to the inside. Tires are still really strong right now. He may get the run down to turn 3.
Turn 3, also known as NASCAR Bend, and give the position to Jason Bell, who sweeps through and grabs that 4th spot, fulfilling some of the promise we've seen from him in the practice sessions, but as you said, just couldn't put it all together in qualifying.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they went in a different direction with the setup, or maybe just the cooler conditions we had here this morning related to them having a really good setup when the conditions were much hotter this week.
Right, look at the speed differential between a GT3 car like the Zelus Lamborghini that's now approaching the 4th place running Jason Bell, 4th in the GT4 class, and Harward still trying to find his way through this traffic.
Yeah, it's not easy. This isn't the easiest racetrack to pass on. However, there are some good overtaking opportunities. He should clear Jason easily here in the first part of this back straightaway.
How difficult is it to be patient if you're in Jason's position here, knowing your car is fast. You were supposed to start second, and now having to fight through the GT4 field even before you can think about challenging for a class position.
Well, it's super frustrating. He'll be kind of steaming before the green flag here, but the team needs to talk to him on the radio. He's just got to do his thing. The car is fast. He really needs a reset. We don't see a lot of full course yellows with this class this year, so they've been keeping it pretty clean. Once we get through the initial corners anyway, we had some issues at St. Petersburg, of course, but once we get going, they tend to stay green, so he's got a long road ahead of him. If he can clear this GT4 field, which he's about to do, coming up on the leader next, then he needs a reset with a yellow. Then he'll have the speed to maybe cut through that GT3 field as well.
Really good lap there from Moise Uretsky to pull a gap of nearly 1 second at the front of the GT4 field. It's a similar gap first to second in SRO3 with George Kurtz right now for Riley Motorsports with a nearly 1 second advantage over Jeff Burton, but give Jeff credit, he has been hanging tough right there behind George.
Well, the two Zalos Lamborghinis look like they're going to sweep the front row, and it was a last lap flyer by George that pipped them. He'd been running fast sectors, but couldn't put the lap together until the very end of a short qualifying session, but certainly Jeff is keeping him honest right now. Now it'll all be about tire degradation. We see a quick spin there for the 60 of Ibrahim.
That is the Ginetta G56 GT4, Dexter Racing the team. Matt's been a strong competitor for the last year. In fact, made his pro racing debut here at VIR 1 year ago in the TC class, and now trying GT4 for the first time.
Could this be the yellow that Harwood is needing? Stews will allow him to try and get some momentum or some fire back in the belly of that Ginetta.
Andy Pilgrim, who we talked about earlier.
It's not moving. We may be seeing full course yellow here pretty quickly. They'll try and communicate with the team, see what the driver is saying to the pit wall, and then make the determination if we need to go full course yellow.
That would be a huge break, though, as you mentioned, for Jason Harward, who would essentially then be brought back to the SRO3 field.
Well, I wonder if he got tipped around. I mean, turn one braking zone, you can certainly get it wrong by yourself, but that's typically where someone's diving down the inside, and he may have a broken car versus just a stalled car. Have to wait and see how this one plays out.
For now, we remain green with just over 8 minutes gone by. This is the battle for the GT4 lead here with Uretsky, who started the season in a Supra, now actually running in an Aston Martin, and he's got the Porsche of Adelson right behind him. Then Ross Schwest, who has dropped back down into the third spot, so Adelson back up a position.
So some dust flying right down where Ibrahim is sitting in the road. So I'm not sure if it's he who has got moving and suddenly tried to kick the car around, or someone had to take evasive action. We stay green.
Car, though, very much in a compromised position now. Full course yellow will bring a halt to proceedings, at least temporarily. There you see double yellows from the flag stand here at VIR. A tough break for Matt Ibrahim, who again was making his GT4 debut and just has not been able to get that car refired.
Yeah, I thought I saw some dust flying. Let's see how this one. Yeah, there's the dust flying.
That had to be a heart in your throat moment if you're Matt sitting there in that car stranded with the field barreling towards you. Well, the safety car is deployed, and that erases a nearly 2-second lead that George Kurtz had built over Jeff Burton. It also brings Andy Pilgrim into the mix, and the savvy veteran for this relatively new operation, certainly new to this level of racing. Ski Autosports, what a cool initiative that they have. They've been racing some single-make Ferrari racing and won what's the GT Maranello Cup going back to last year.
Won 3 races here on site here at VIR last year.
That's
in the
right.
International Championship. So they know it well. It's a cool deal there. Ken and Melissa Hussey own the car, and Ski Autosports, I think you know what that means, Ryan.
Yes, apparently the ski stands for Spending the Kids' Inheritance, which all of us find funny, but we're not their kids.
Right.
So maybe that joke's lost a little bit on the family members, but that said, evidently they went on some kind of a tour in Australia, and like the tour group was called something along those lines, and they said, perfect, we know the name for our race team. But very enthusiastic, they got a big car collection down where they live in Georgia, and have been doing some racing, hooked up with Andy in recent years, and now stepping into GT America powered by AWS, and a chance to see that some of these older generation cars like the Callaway Corvette, the Ferrari 458, the Daskalos car, the Audi previous generation, still have a chance, and this is a good platform for them to be able to continue to race.
They put a great group together. The team is run by Phil Creighton, who I know very well. When I made my debut back over here in 1985 in the US, was with a team called Essex Racing. He and Michael Gouet were the team principals back then. So very astute, very savvy, knows racing very, very well, and just a great guy to be leading that group.
Now, a team to keep an eye on. They'll be running a partial schedule this year. Announced this program well back in the offseason, but didn't plan to make their debut until we got here to VIR. And right now running a very strong third on debut behind a couple of drivers that have had some success in this championship in years past. Let's take a look at Race Vision powered by AWS, and the top speed set so far, CJ Moses. Not a huge surprise, it's the lone GT2 spec car in the field, and those cars by design are rocket ships in a straight line.
Yeah, they're dragsters. They don't have the downforce that these GT3 cars have, so you can't hustle it through the corners, but CJ's doing a great job, has a lot of fans and family here this weekend. One of the main AWS offices is close by, and looking at Pilgrim's speed, I think if he can have a good start here and have Kurtz and Burton start to duke it out a little bit over the opening restart lap, he may be able to take advantage of that Ferrari's top line speed down Madison Avenue into the roller coaster on this first green flag lap that we'll see.
If he's got the car, he has the experience in the speed to do something with it, that's for sure. You mentioned his World Challenge Championship. That came back in 2005. Former class winner at the 24 Hours of Daytona. Constantly, though, it seemed like he was in the championship conversation, running with Cadillac Racing, either the factory team or the Remington customer team at various times. Third, second, third, and third in the championship in 07, 08, 12, and 13. So this is a guy who knows how to get it done, albeit hasn't done a ton of racing at the pro level in recent years.
No, and I think, in fact, he had an overall win at Daytona when Jim Bell was running the team, along with Terry Borscheller, who's also competing here this weekend. Jim Bell is engineering the car for Aaron Vogel and Michael Cooper. So let's have a little get-together, reminisce about the good old days.
No, you're quite right, actually. It was an overall win in 2004. This is Moisey Uretsky, who leads in GT4 at the moment, scored his first ever pole position in the class, made that switch from the Supra to the Aston Martin here this weekend, and Aston's looking pretty strong when you factor in the fact that Uretsky is leading. Then you've got Schwest in third and Bell running right there in fourth.
Yeah, I think this car is just perfectly suited to this GT4 formula. It's very comfortable up through the S. I was talking to Jason Bell and Andrew Davis about the car yesterday. He just said it's super confident through that sector there. And you get to the GT3 Aston Martin, it certainly has promise, has results, but it's a bit more of an animal to drive. You know what I mean? It doesn't have quite the downforce compared to some of the other GT3 machinery, but in GT4 spec, this car is super, super strong.
We've seen that from a number of different teams. West Povelato Racing, we've seen it from the B-Sport Racing team, among others. Yeah, absolutely.
Things here back in 2020, I think it was.
Yeah, that would have been Flying Lizard, I think. Yeah. More Race Vision powered by AWS. Corner speeds at South Bend, and Jason Bell in the Aston at the top of the charts. South Bend is right there at the top of the climbing S's, headed towards Oak Tree. So that's a pretty high speed, high commitment part of the racetrack.
And that's where that confidence comes in. That's exactly where Andrew Davis and Jason said this car is really strong when I had chatted with them yesterday.
Now it all checks out, that's for sure. Nice recovery for Bell, who did not qualify as well as he would like, but he's moved his way forward. And he's turned himself into a very capable racer. Really turned it on at the tail end of last year.
Just clicked. Do you know what I mean? He was so frustrated that he couldn't quite bring it home. I think the pressure would get to him and he'd make that vital error late in the going when he was leading races. And once he got that first win, boy, did he get the confidence and went on the roll.
Won 3 out of the last 4 races in round 2 the GT4 championship in this championship 1 year past. Now it's time for the restart with 24 minutes and change remaining. George Kurtz leading the field. Pilgrim is falling back a little bit behind Jeff Burton. Kurtz into the acceleration zone, starts to pull away, and he will drag race now with Jeff Burton to the green flag, back into turn 1 under green flag conditions.
Yeah, that's not the restart that Andy Pilgrim needed there. He needed to be much tighter to that lead duo there to see if he could take advantage of that Ferrari top line speed. But settling back in here, Daskalos on the attack as well.
GT4 restart now with Uretsky leading Adelson, Schwest, and Bell. 1, 2, 3, 4. Interested spectator Chris Gumprecht back in the 5th spot. They fan out further back. Rob Holland in the blue Porsche going on the attack now, trying to get around Elias Sabo.
Adelson really up on the wheel now. Drop back on the initial start. Now he's back into that 2nd position where he qualified. Trying to put the pressure on. He gets to the inside, gets the run off turn 3, side by side. Nuwaji Baji clears him nicely.
That's a tough place to go around the outside. I had Michael Cooper tell me it is so dirty offline there. It's easy to lose it, but Adelson made it happen. He got around Moise Uretsky. He now leads in the GT4 class, and Uretsky's got his mirrors full of Ross Schwest.
Yeah, Adelson having a ton of confidence coming off a great weekend that they had at NOLA just a few weeks ago.
That was in Pirelli GT4 America, where he and Elliott Skier were remarkably strong. Now that he's clear of Uretsky, it looks like Adelson's starting to pull away.
Schwest there very wide. That's almost in no man land when you can't get the car turned back in. Here's Harwood making a move on Weatherall. That's for P6.
It's a 6th in class now for Harwood. His recovery drive on a day in which he thought he was going to be starting on the outside of the front row. Instead was relegated to the back of the overall field due to a change of tires in the pit lane on the pre-grid.
I think on speed, he's definitely got a podium potential here. Looking at the lap time so far today, he has the 3rd fastest race lap behind our 2 leaders. So, but it's not going to be easy. Got to get through Schulteis and Daskalos, then chase after Pilgrim.
This is another driver too who's driving with a bit more confidence at the moment, having scored his first win in the 2nd race of the season in Sonoma. Finished 3rd in the 1st race there after not scoring points. In fact, not being classified in either of the first 2 races in St. Pete. That time got to the inside of Schulteis, now up 1 more spot to P5.
Yeah, when the tires are good, you can certainly make that move. The car's not slipping and sliding as much as it will a little bit later in this race. And again, these cool conditions are aiding that as well, as we see, is that Gumprecht off?
I don't think so. I think that's Chris CAGNAZZI off, actually. This is the car that had to start from the pit lane. It was in turn 1, but he's back up and moving now.
Yeah, had an incident at the start that he was deemed to be involved with. Here we see coming down into the brake zone for turn 1. Just in super late. Cars do have ABS, but that was not enough to arrest that sort of speed at that approach.
Yeah, Gray Newell did a good job to let that car come through when he saw the lockup in his mirrors. Now back to SRO 3, where Jason Daskalos holds 4th, but the hard charging Jason Harwood is right behind him, coming now into the roller coaster portion of the racetrack.
Yeah, Daskalos doesn't give any position up easy, so this could be a good little fight here, even though the Lamborghini does look a little bit quicker than the Audi. What a set of corners this is. Down the roller coaster through Hogpen. Very tricky last corner there. You kind of, eye line is looking through the corner. You're just trying to feel the edge of the road. And if you drop left side rear off there, you're going for a big, big ride.
Closing in on the halfway mark of race 1 of the weekend, race 5 of the season in GT America. Powered by AWS, Jason Harwood closing in on Daskalos, able to keep that car to the inside of the racetrack. Now side by side here into NASCAR Bend, able to hang tough on the outside.
Trying to go the long way around. I thought he might try to do the over-under there, but Daskalos was wise to it. Just held station. This is going to allow Pilgrim to chase off a little bit and maybe maintain a big enough gap here to the finish.
Although Daskalos has not done a ton of racing in recent years, he's been in this championship going back a decade plus. Harwood, on the other hand, is very new to this. Last year was his first year of pro racing. first year in a GT3 car, and his racecraft has improved tremendously year on year.
Yeah, and he's got a great mentor when he's running the GT World Challenge America Championship. He's got Corey Lewis working with him, so really just a great mentor, can teach him some of the tools of the trade and shorten that steep learning curve that's ahead of him.
Sitting there in the slipstream, Jason Harwood in the brightly colored Lamborghini from SRO Motorsports, blinking those headlights. Is he going to be close enough to pull out and make a move down Madison Avenue? It's tight. Dascolo shuts the door.
Almost a little lock up there. You can see the tires squirming for grip.
What a save.
That was tight. He said Dascolo is not an easy man to pass. He's very, very determined. Good, hard racer. Time to settle back in, regroup a little bit.
You learn from that experience where you can and can't make the move. Sizing up your opponent. Let's take a look at it again here, Cal.
Well, you get the run there, and even if you get to the left-hand side, you're then on the outside for the right-hander, and Jason just sliced across, takes away a bit of the downforce at the same time, so suddenly Harwood had to be very much on his toes not to make contact.
Back to live pictures, and he's right back there once again. This is costing both of them time. Andy Pilgrim 3 seconds up the road and pulling away from these two as they fight over 4th and 5th. Dascalos has had all the answers to the questions that Jason Harwood has been asking so far.
Yes, but it's a great fight. But this is exactly what Andy Pilgrim needs to extend that gap a little bit.
More from the pit lane now with Amanda.
Hey guys, I'm standing by with Ty Isaac here at SRO Motorsports, and I want to go to what Jason Harwood is pulling out here today. And you guys started from the back of the pack. How did you keep your driver calm as we kicked off this race?
I think he's just in a really good headspace right now. He got in the car pretty upset. It was a lapse of judgment within the team to put the tires on pit wall. We had to do a pit lane start, which was really, really unfortunate. Started at the back of all the GT4 cars. Sounds like we might have gotten another one. I think we're up in the 4th place right now from the last class up pit lane start. It's been pretty cool to see him come fight through the field. I think he's learning a lot with passing, and it'll help with tomorrow's race. And he's always been good in lap traffic, and I think it really is shown today. And Jeff Burton starting on 3rd place today. We thought we locked out the front row until the last lap of qualifying when Kurtz had beat us by a little bit there at the end. It would have been really, really cool to have the 1-2 start today, but hopefully tomorrow.
Thank you for the updates.
That's a great point for tomorrow. The grid is set by fastest laps here today. Right now, Kurtz has it by a substantial margin. It's laid down at 146.4 compared to 147.0 for Burton. Let's see what Harwood has in his pocket now that he's got a little bit of clean air in front of him.
Well, he had clean air as far as GT3 goes, but now he's caught the GT4 field, and that's where this series gets a little bit interesting with the mixed class nature of it. Back to the GT4 battle, and there's not been much separation. It was a great move, 5 minutes or so ago from Adam Adelson to get past Moise Goretzky, and he's built a bit of a margin, but not a big one. 0.7 of a second is all at the line. This is Adelson and the Premier Racing Porsche, and right behind it's Goretzky, Schwest, and Bell keeping a close eye on what's happening in front of him out his windshield as well.
Yeah, Bell is right back with those other brace of Aston Martins in front of him. And I think this is where Jason has learned so much and come on so strong. I mean, Andrew Davis has just got so much experience as his teammate in a similar car in GT4 competition. In fact, they're running the same car, I think, this weekend because of the big crash that they had at NOLA Motorsports Park. So, a bit on the back foot, but nonetheless, just that's what's great about the 2-driver format. You can just learn so much, not just having a driver coach sitting on the sidelines, watching you, observing you, looking at the video. When someone else jumps in exactly the same race car and experience what the track conditions are like, you can learn so much more.
And carrying those lessons over to the single driver format here in GT America, powered by AWS. It's interesting with Schwest and Bell, you're looking at the top 2 cars in the GT4 point standings. at this stage in the season. Just 6 points separating them at the moment, and this could have championship implications as Schwest takes a peek to the outside of Uretsky, but can't make the move.
Yeah, that car seems to have a little bit more straightaway speed than the other Aston Martins these around. I'm not sure if that was an effect of the draft. I mean, you can trim these cars a little bit. It's all about keeping the balance. You can't really change the front aero. You can reduce it by maybe increasing the front ride height, but that rear wing can certainly get you balance, and if you can trim it out and maintain the balance, you might have that little edge down the straightaways, and it seems that Schwest does have that.
Now in the slipstream again, this is Aston on Aston here. Schwest in the red car, poking his nose to the inside. He'll pull up alongside Uretsky into turn one, and he gets it woed down. Meanwhile, Harward off track. That's at the exit of Oak Tree.
I don't see any other traffic involved, so he stays in front of Dascalos. Let's take a look. Yeah, just runs wide there.
And you'll recall he had an off very similar to this one in qualifying for GT World Challenge America earlier today.
Yeah, really a cut and paste of that move. Just carrying a bit too much speed through the first part of Oak Tree. You get out wide, you can't get a turn. The racetrack is turning in the other direction. You're on the wrong trajectory. It's just very dirty out there with zero grip.
The big difference is he caught the tire barrier this morning. He was able to escape that this afternoon and continues to run in the fourth spot, but considerably behind the top three in the SRO3 class. Dascalos now has been passed by Schultes as well, so the Callaway Corvette up another spot and runs fifth.
Look at this, just as Bell is thinking about putting the pressure on Uretsky, suddenly Gumprecht is in the mix as well. In fact, where is Schwest? Schwest has dropped back here.
You're right.
He's at the back of this pack, so he's gone from second all the way back to about 7th or 8th.
Let's take a look at a replay here again, trying to make the move on Uretsky.
Oh, he did run wide. Is that was from a couple of laps ago, right? Or did we just not see the finish of that move that he was making down the inside?
I'm not sure the answer to that question, but the result is pretty clear to see.
Yeah.
And Ross Schwest has plummeted down the order. He had been running third, and again, we were talking about the championship, the fact that he was ahead of Bell, who he's 6 points behind in the points coming into this race, and now drops considerably behind Bell on track. So that's really big news for Jason Bell, who's right there running up in the third spot.
Well, that's a nice run for him, particularly thinking about the big picture of the championship. I know he expected to maybe dominate this race based on their practice times here this weekend, but had to do a little bit of a reset with the cooler conditions here today. But he's had a nice, consistent run here. And that's been the big difference with Jason Bell. He'd get himself in some really good potential positions, and he's not making those little mistakes that was costing him points and prizes, and now he's just on a really strong run here today once again.
Back to the front of the field where George Kurtz continues to control the race. This
and
is a look
bringing
at
that fast lap time. Last lap is his fastest of the day. Continues to create that margin, and that could give him the pole for tomorrow as well.
That's crucial to keep in mind. Fastest lap from race one sets the grid for race two of the weekend coming your way tomorrow. This is the crucial part here now for George. He's got an 8-second lead, and he's about to catch the tail end of the GT4 field. So with that a lead of that magnitude, he can afford to be a little bit more patient working his way through the traffic.
Very much so. If the gap is around 2 seconds, then suddenly you can lose that in a heartbeat. So it really puts the pressure on to make some moves and be a bit more aggressive. But with this sort of lead, no mistakes, take no chances here. Strong performance, fast race car, and I think George is really finding his feet once again. He's been a driver who, when he's on a roll, when we saw him win that GTS amateur class, when was it 2017, I think, with the McLaren, where he finished a 10-win season. You know, he gets that confidence and he goes from strength to strength. And with a move to Riley Motorsports, I think he's now got a setup on this race car that's a bit more consistent, and he's really enjoying his driving once again.
Here is CJ Moses. This is, again, the lone GT2 car in the field. This is a special track for CJ, who lives up in the Northern Virginia area, Nokesville, Virginia, and works, of course, for AWS, has all those AWS guests here on site. But this is the track, Calvin, that he was first exposed to road racing, fell in love with the sport, has done a ton of lapping here at the club level, raced in the runoffs here, and now making another pro race start in what has to be one of the more fun cars to drive on this in this grid, with all the straightaway speed it's got. It's just a raw, visceral car, the GT2 machine.
Well, if you don't fall in love with road racing driving around here, you don't have a pulse, because this place is simply magic.
Adam Adelson pacing the field in GT4 with just over 9 minutes to go. What a nice run of form he's been on. Certainly in Pirelli GT4 America, he and Elliott Skier, since they teamed up at the midpoint of the season last year, they proved to be a really good pairing. And this premier racing team that they're driving for has some nice heritage and roots, and they've just been growing alongside Adam, it seems like. Yeah,
the team is really the old White Lightning team who had so much success in ALMS competition with Porsche brand as well, so a lot of that team remains, and you can see homage to that with their livery on this race car.
More from the pits and Amanda.
Well, I'm standing by with Sam Weber, the team manager with Premier Racing, guys. And you mentioned Elliott Skier. He's up in the tower spotting for Adam during this run. And we talk about the success that you guys found together as a team at NOLA. And just, I saw Adam walking into race control earlier today, and just his body language is different. What's changed for Adam?
You know, every day we just come into this and we're working really hard as a team. We bond every day. We come in every day early and just keep going. You can tell in the guys too. Everybody, from the team to the drivers, everybody's excited to be here, and we're performing, so that's the best part.
When you talk to Adam after these races, is there any feedback that you guys share as a team that you push forward for every race?
Yeah, I mean, we do checklists, we do all sorts of things. We do debriefs, everything we do. They meet, Elliot and him meet, so we're always communicating. We spend a lot of time together, so we have to stay communicating, and it's been great.
Thank you, Steve.
It's hard to judge where they stand this season in this championship, just because when they started at St. Pete, they had this brand new iteration of the Cayman, but at the time, it wasn't fully GT4 homologated. So it ran as an invitational class car. A rule was put in place that you would be able to drop a race weekend as far as the points are concerned. So right now, it looks like 14th in points, 36 points back with a 14th and a 5th place finish. That doesn't really tell the whole story, because that car was very competitive at St. Pete, and you're seeing just how good they are once again.
Yeah, we've got all that fun to work out a bit later this season, right, when we start dropping scores.
I leave the math in your capable hands, Calvin.
Good luck.
But it will be interesting
Here
to
we
see how
go.
that plays
Jason
out.
Bell gets a run.
Yep. Bell taking a look on Uretsky. This is the fight for second in GT4.
Really seems like the draft is quite phenomenal there down that straightaway between the Aston Martins. They seem like they draft off each other very well. We saw that with Schwess making a run on Uretsky as well.
Give a call to Elias Sabo, too, who's running in the 5th spot just behind this battle. That's the Flying Lizard Motorsports car. Elias with a nice, solid run here today.
I spoke to the team manager there, Steve Costello, yesterday, and he said we really learned a lot this weekend. Had a great run at Sonoma, and then had some drama at NOLA, of course, and he said it was great to get both cars out this weekend. We had Elias and Andy Lee, who he shares a car with in Sprint X competition, basically doing lead follows, and he said Elias is really doing a solid job this weekend. Great lap times.
Yeah, he and Andy were very good at NOLA in Pirelli GT4 America. And this championship, GT America, was not participating at NOLA Motorsports Park. Last time out for these cars have been at Sonoma, and Elias had an 8th place finish there, but that's his only point scoring result of the season so far in this championship, but on his way to a very solid day with just over 5 minutes to go.
Beautiful section of racetrack. It's like a ribbon coming up through there. The speed just keeps winding up until you get to that peak there, up through turn 10. that arrests the speed a little bit. And then you've got to go from total commitment to total patience and discipline through Oak Tree right here, turn 11.
Saw Chris Gumprecht with a huge save as he continues to chase Jason Bell in that blue Mercedes. Meanwhile, again, it's George Kurtz still leading overall, and he's about to catch that battle that we've been talking about in GT4. This is a little bit further back. Rob Holland defending against Marco Radicic, who was so good at St. Petersburg.
He's having a big run here. Sabo now is caught up to Gumprecht. Tell you, man, who's flying right now is Harwood. He just set his fastest lap of the day, and that means he's now only about 3 seconds back of Pilgrim, but time is running out.
That'll help him a bunch as far as starting position for tomorrow is concerned. I think he would be third tomorrow. George Kurtz with the CrowdStrike fastest lap. He would be on pole as it stands. Jeff Burton has been pretty quick too. The 147 flat, that's the second fastest lap so far. He continues a nice strong day running second as Kurtz makes his way through the GT4 traffic.
Dust flying in the background there. You see Pilgrim coming through just behind that GT4 traffic, and that could have been the dust flying. Yeah, Rob Holland, I believe, going for a ride.
Yep, he was just in that fight we were talking about with Marco Radicic.
Suspension.
Yeah.
He's trying to get back on, then he just suddenly went left. I think he may be feeling something in the front end.
Rob's a real veteran driver as well, so he would probably be able to diagnose if there was something wrong just by the feel of that race car, and I agree. It looked like he was set to rejoin and didn't like what he felt and just pulled off track looking for a safe spot with 3.5 minutes to go.
Key is going to be Pilgrim. Does he get a good run through the traffic, or is there an opportunity here for Howard, who's half that gap, which was 3 seconds just a lap ago, down to just 1.5 seconds, and he's laid down the second fastest lap of the race, a 1:46.7. He's only 0.4 off of Kurtz's fast lap now.
Impressive stuff on 37-minute-old Pirelli tires for Jason Harwood to have the second fastest lap of the race this deep into the run. This is Jeff Burton. Behind him is Pilgrim, and yeah, there you go. Harwood is there.
Yeah, this could get really spicy here by the end of this race. Andy's going to have to dig on every ounce of his experience here to hang on to this podium run.
Looks like it should be 2 laps effectively left to go in this race, depending on where Kurtz crosses the line. So that's plenty of time for Harwood, who has had the pace and has been good through traffic, as Ty Isaac alluded to in our interview a few moments ago.
He has, but Andy Pilgrim's been doing multi-class racing for decades, so he should have a good read in how to handle this situation.
Burton now with Bell between himself and Pilgrim. Gumprecht sits between Pilgrim and Harwood, but not for long. Harwood clears that traffic and now has clear sailing to try and get to the back of Andy Pilgrim for the podium.
Burton's not that far down the road, and look at this, Harwood is through. He dives down the inside, entering turn 3, and takes that position early. Does he have enough time to chase after his teammate here and get to P2? What a run he's having.
Well, the two of them were separated by less than 1/10 of a second in qualifying. Those two Zalus Lamborghinis that looked set to sweep the front row of the grid, but ultimately George Kurtz with the late flyer took the pole.
That's tight. That was tight. Just, I think Urecki was in no man's land. He didn't want to wait. You just run out of road, get in the gray. Very high-speed section there as you exit the snake and get ready for these high-speed S's.
Jason Harwood with the bit between his teeth. He had to start from the pit lane, caught a lucky caution just as he cleared the GT4 traffic, and he's raced his way up onto the podium in third, taking that spot away from Andy Pilgrim just a few moments ago.
Got about 1.25 laps to do it, so time is not on his side, but Burton looks like he's cleared that GT4 traffic, so should have a clear road ahead of him as we look at our leader, Kurtz, coming through the roller coaster.
Expecting to see the white flag this time by for the overall leader, George Kurtz, who has caught Marco Radicic. That's a GT4 class competitor. He puts him 1 lap down and takes the white flag. 1 lap to go at VIR.
George was maybe a touch wide there, coming through Hogpen there. Sometimes a little different visual that you get versus sitting in the race car, and Howard now clears that last bit of traffic. But Burton, his teammate, probably got enough of a gap, even though Jason has run a slightly faster lap here today.
It does look that way. It's about 3 seconds between second and third at the moment, with Burton holding down that second spot over his teammate, Jason Harwood. Pilgrim 4th, Daskalos 5th in the SRO 3 field. Adelson, though, the Porsche you're looking at right here, that's the leader in GT4. He's pulled out to a fairly sizable margin over Moisey Uretsky, who continues to fend off Jason Bell.
And I think Addison, and I've been probably confusing things by talking about the Sprint X competition at Norway. I think he just gained a ton of confidence with those results there with Elliott Skier. Now you come back here, and this is just great opportunity for a lot of these drivers. Use this GT America event as just extra seat time, extra experience on a racetrack to get ready for the Sprint X competition a little bit later this afternoon.
Still a great fight brewing. A little further back in the GT4 field, George Kurtz, though, in control. He came into this weekend second in points, 3 podium finishes, including a win in the second race at St. Petersburg, looking to get back into the win column, and he's just a few corners away.
Yeah, solid run from the pole, controlled things. Felt the pressure early from Burton, but didn't put a foot wrong.
He's got the CrowdStrike fastest lap of the race. It looks like he'll start on pole tomorrow for race 2. George Kurtz and Riley Motorsports pick up win number 2 of the season in GT America, powered by AWS. George Kurtz wins at VIR. Now looking further down the order, Jeff Burton crosses the line. He'll secure second spot. A great run for Jeff, his best finish of the season. And in GT4, Adam Adelson and Premier Racing pick up the win in race 1 of the weekend.
Yeah, that was a great battle. Didn't have the best first laps there. Got dropped a position, but just got things back together really, really quickly on that restart.
First career win, first career podium in GT America, powered by AWS, for Adam Adelson, who was 10th in points 1 year ago. Previous best finish this season was 5th in race 2 at Sonoma. He does that 4 spots better, comes home with the race win, holding off a bevy of Aston Martins at the end. Moisey Uretsky does take home second place. Jason Bell third. Chris Gumprecht, Elias Sabo rounding out the top 5. And Ross West, after dropping off track a little while ago, had to settle for the 7th spot. Meanwhile, in GT2, CJ Moses on home soil, a race winner once again.
That's a good little battle. I think the yellow was just perfect to get a little bit of a reset and have some of our faster cars have a chance to jump up onto the podium.
Tough break, though, for a few drivers. You look at Rob Holland, who had the issue. Marco Radicic also with an issue, and they were fighting with one another. So might be putting 2 and 2 together and getting 5 here, but I'm going to guess that there might be something related to their issues. Both of them dropping well down the order and outside of the points. As you can see, it is now official. CrowdStrike fastest lap of the race to the CrowdStrike car. George Kurtz with the 146.353, one of just 2 drivers to break into the 146s in today's race.
Yeah, and I think Harwood may have something for him tomorrow. He's only, 3.5 tenths off, so he's right there.
Well, that's how they were supposed to line up today, with Kurtz on pole and Harward second, but the miscue prior to the race that led to Harward starting from pit lane probably cost him a chance to fight for the win here today, but put on a show for us, that's for sure. Provisional results from race 1 of the weekend. George Kurtz by nearly 10 seconds over Jeff Burton. Jason Harward, Andy Pilgrim, Jason Daskalos, then Justin Wetherill, the top 6 in the SRO 3 class. CJ Moses, the lone GT2 car in the field, comes home 7th overall. And despite running as high as 5th, Mirko Schultes dropped back. He finished 8th today. Adam Adelson with his first career win in this series over Moisey Uretsky. Impressive run for him. And then Jason Bell, Chris Gumprecht, and Elias Sabo, the top 5 in the GT4 class. Interesting race 1, and again, fastest lap from today will set the field for tomorrow, and looked like a good amount of parity up and down this field. Excited to see what tomorrow will bring.
Yeah, a bunch of cars have potential to be on the podium tomorrow. Certainly Kurtz has that slight edge. As you said, Harwood should have been up there on the front row, but with that technical issue before the green flag, had to fight his way through this field. Did a great job with it to get up into the podium spot, but you know, George, as I said during today's race, once he gets that confidence going, he's a tough man to beat.
There he is, the man of the hour. You could see the smile under the helmet. That's not always the case, but a hard-earned win for George Kurtz, and this shift to the Riley Motorsports team, it seems to be a good one. The fact that it's a single car operation, a lot of focus on what George is doing here in GT America, but also in Fanatec GT with Colin Brown as his co-driver. They seem to be firing on all cylinders given their form in recent races.
Yeah, and you'd expect them to get stronger as this season progresses. You get a few more races under your belt, get a bit of testing done. Bill Riley, one of the best engineers in the business, so they're going to be strong.
Let's hear from our race winners in Victory Lane with Amanda.
Well, George, your second win this season will give you the points lead here in GT America, and I talked to you prior to the race today, and you said you love it here. What about your driving style fits so well at VIR?
You know, I think with this track and the Mercedes, we've had success in the past here. We won overall a couple years ago, so just felt really good. The Riley Crowdstruck guys gave me a great car, and, you know, I just love this track.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You talked about that championship season he had back in 2017 with a GT4 McLaren. 9 wins that year, 12 podiums. He had been hanging around in previous years, but all of a sudden it clicked for him and he rattled off all those wins. Kind of exuded the same confidence we just saw from him right there.
Yeah, I think it's starting to come back again. And, you know, he had a couple of years where he wasn't really that comfortable in his race car, switched around with various brands, and now he's got Colin Brown, who's just one of the top guys in our paddock, as a great mentor, and just kind of keeps George's driving together, but probably mentally as well. Just doesn't allow George to get too down on himself if he's going through a bit of a confidence problem. And now they're on the rise. They're getting that momentum. They're going to be really tough, not only in this championship, but also when we get to the Fanatec GT Championship a little bit later today.
Back down to Victory Lane and Amanda.
Well, Adam, Kevin Fish was talking about in the booth the confidence that we've seen out of you since NOLA. Now here, your first step on the podium in GT America is going to be on the top one. Where do you feel like you've leveled up at a driver the most?
Well, I don't think it's just me who has leveled up as a driver. I think it's really completely a team effort. The whole entire crew have been absolutely amazing, and you know, getting this car as fast as it possibly can be, and getting me up to speed with it. I have the best, most amazing coaches, one of which is my co-driver, Elliott Skier, Craig Stanton, absolute legends, and that's just the difference right there.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And Adam's got big aspirations. Last year was his first foray into racing at this level. He'd like to go to Le Mans one day, and he'd like to take this team with him. How cool would that be? What a great story.
Really cool, and he's surrounding himself with great people. Certainly Elliott does a great job. I didn't know Craig was working with him, Craig Stanton. He's got so much experience as well.
One more interview with Amanda down in Victory Circle.
Well, one of the guys we spent a lot of time talking to today was Jason Harbour. And Jason, back to the beginning of the race, you know the team made a decision there that kind of handicapped you. How did you keep yourself settled to pull off this podium?
Honestly, I didn't. I just got pissed in the car and then just drove my butt off. I don't know, just one car at a time. They just kept giving me updates constantly throughout the whole race, and yeah, I just kept my head in it.
Thank you.
It was a great drive from Jason today, that's for sure. Kept his head in it, kept his foot in it as well. And
He
just
said
came
he was
knifing through the
frustrated,
field.
right? So
yeah.
sometimes that works for drivers, sometimes it works against you.
Highlights from race 1 of the weekend. George Kurtz from pole, able to sprint away, but Jeff Burton hung tough there for a while. Jason Daskalos was in the mix too in his Audi. That was in SRO 3. This, though, the GT4 battle, and Moisey Uretsky, first career pole, and he was able to convert it into the race lead, at least for a while. Ross Schwest, though, had the great start to get up to second.
He really did, and then this little bobble there after the restart allows Adam Adelson to get to the inside. Elbows are out, clears him nicely, didn't look back.
And was able to hold tough on the outside there, which has not been an easy thing to do over the course of the history of this racetrack. This was a great fight here. Harward, Daskalos, what a save by Jason.
That was awesome, wasn't it? Again, I didn't realize he's quite so sideways. A little bit later in the race, gets to the inside, and Jason Daskalos reluctantly gives it up. Great battle.
Yeah, Jason Harward, though, was not to be denied. Even this off-track excursion did not prevent him from running himself back up into podium contention, kept it off the tire wall and in the mix. This was Ross Schwest battling with Moisey Uretsky for the second spot. He goes wide, and that cost him dearly.
It really did.
And now we see George Kurtz to the line, second win of the season, and back in front as far as the points standings are concerned. That's race 1 of the weekend for GT America, powered by AWS, all done and dusted. We'll be back again tomorrow here at VIR. Hope to see you for race 2.